Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to our read-through of Mr. Scarborough's Family by Anthony Trollope, where I am reading you the book with copious interruptions as we tell the story of sick, dying old Mr. Scarborough, who is a rogue. He is a rascal. He hates the fact that the law tries to tell him what to do with his own money, and he is a wealthy landowner. He has a property, Tretton Park, that he can bequeath. He would like to bequeath it however he pleases. He would like to do whatever he wants with it. And so he is nevertheless bound by the laws of entail, which means that his property goes to his eldest son. Only his eldest son, Montjoy, is a gambling addict who has raised so many debts against inheriting the property that when he finally does inherit the property, the whole thing will belong to his creditors. And Mr. Scarborough knows this. So he produces to his lawyer, and has his lawyer publish to the world, documentary evidence that Montjoy Scarborough is illegitimate, that he's always been illegitimate, that it was always wrong for him to be the heir of Tretton Park. The heir is actually his second son, Augustus Scarborough. And Montjoy Scarborough does not take this well. He goes out and gets drunk and raises even more gambling debts that he can't pay. And he wants to explain himself to the world, but especially to his first cousin, Florence, with whom there's been a sort of informal family arrangement that they were going to wed. Florence never agreed to this, but Montjoy has always thought she was pretty much his, that when he inherited the property, he would inherit her too. And when he tries to explain himself to her, she explains to him that that's not true, that her heart belongs to someone else, a young man named Harry Annesley. And as ill luck would have it, soon after that, Montjoy Scarborough and Harry Annesley meet at 3 a.m. in a deserted by street with no one around, and they fight. And Montjoy Scarborough ends up unconscious on the pavement, and Harry walks away and doesn't tell the police the next day when Montjoy is missing. He doesn't tell the police he was the last one to see him. And when he has a dinner with Augustus Scarborough, he outright lies and says, Augustus asks him, when's the last time you saw my brother? And he tells him some other time, sometime when there were other witnesses. Doesn't mention the altercation in the street. And Augustus Scarborough starts spreading rumors to that effect. The police are interested in Harry Annesley. Augustus Scarborough starts spreading rumors to that effect. And the rumors reach Harry's uncle, Uncle Prosper, who's had a touchy relationship with Harry anyway, because Harry would never sit still after dinner and listen to sermons poorly read, but now decides to disinherit him. Harry has always been, another entail, always been the expected heir to his uncle, who has no children, is not married, so that he would get the house, the park, the farm, and has been raised on an income. His uncle has given him an allowance, not a very generous one. Everybody in the book comments on that. It's not very generous, but it is enough for Harry to live on. So he doesn't learn any profession. He's just an idle man. And then his uncle decides, poisoned by these stories from Augustus Scarborough, that he will seek a wife and marry and have an heir of his own. Stops Harry's allowance and tells him, when I have an heir, the entail means the property will go to him. So you are cut adrift. You will have nothing. And in our last chapter, we saw old Mr. Scarborough, who's been cut up by surgeons. He's weak. He's not expected to live long. We saw him come to a rather animated decision that he would send out 3 letters. One to Montjoy Scarborough, who is now back in England and under the rather odious care of his brother. Montjoy has no income of his own. He has no job of his own. He has no chance of raising money on his own. He owes everybody money. So Augustus is feeding him and housing him, and that's not good, because Augustus, as everyone attests, is horrible. A reptilian creature that makes your hair stand on end. No one likes him. Mr. Scarborough offers Montjoy Scarborough the hospitality of Tretton Park. Very nice place. And says to him, in addition to the hospitality, in other words, to get you out from under the thumb of your brother, there's also something I might want to do for you that's to your material advantage. He sends that letter to Montjoy. He sends a letter to poor Mr. Gray, his lawyer, whose daughter Dolly is telling him, don't have anything more to do with these people. They are ruining you. They're ruining your health and life, your peace of mind. Don't have anything more to do with them. But Mr. Scarborough writes to Mr. Gray and says, I would like to remake my will. I'd like to make a new will, and I'd like you here to do it, even though I told you the last time you came down to Tretton Park that you wouldn't have to come again. And Mr. Scarborough also writes to Harry Annesley, who's only visited once as a friend of Augustus Scarborough. and says that I liked your company and I would like to invite you to Tretton Park. I should warn you that Montjoy Scarborough is going to be here, but I can arrange for you not to be here at the same time. And also, I have something I might want to do for you. So to both the young men, he's offering practical assistance. This dying old man who can't get off his couch. So those letters go out. And that was 2 chapters ago. And then last chapter, we saw them be received. We saw their recipients receive them. And now, what was just natural as could be for storytelling purposes, they all go to Tretton Park. And they all arrive at the same time. They all arrive on the same day. So that is this chapter. Chapter 40, Visitors at Tretton. It so happened that all 3 visitors who had been asked to Tretton all agreed to go on the same day. There was indeed no reason why Harry should delay his visit, and much why the other 2 should expedite theirs. Mr. Grey knew that the thing, if done at all, should be done at once, and Montjoy, as he had agreed to accept his father's offer, could not put himself too quickly under the shelter of his father's roof. "You can have £20, Mr. Grey said, when the subject of money was mooted. "Will that suffice?" Montjoy said that would suffice amply, and then, returning to his brother's rooms, had waited there with what patience he possessed till he sallied forth to the Continental to get the best dinner which his restaurant could afford him. He was beginning to feel that his life was very sad in London, and to look forward to the glades of Tretton with some anticipation of rural delight. I don't have much in the way of descriptions of what Tretton is like. Apparently it has rural delights. But Montjoy can't wait to get away from Augustus Scarborough, so his lawyer has lent him money. He went down by the same train as Mr. Grey. A great grind, as Montjoy called it, when Mr. Grey proposed a departure at 10 o'clock. Harry followed so as not to reach Tretton only in time for dinner. "If I may venture to advise you," said Mr. Grey in the train, "I should do in this matter whatever my father asked me." Hereupon Montjoy frowned. "He is anxious to make some provision for you. I am not grateful to my father, if you mean that. It is hard to say whether you should be grateful, but from the first he has done the best he could for you according to his lights." "You believe all this about my mother?" "I do." "I don't. That's the difference. I don't think that Augustus believes it. The story is undoubtedly true. You must excuse me if I will not accept it. At any rate, you had parted with your share in the property. My share was the whole." "After your father's death," said Mr. Grey, "and that was gone. We needn't discuss the property. What is it that he expects me to do now?" "Simply be kind in your manner to him and agree to what he says about the personal property. It is his intention, as far as I understand, to leave you everything." "He is very kind." "I think he is. Only that it would all have been mine had he not cheated me out of my birthright. Or Mr. Tyrwhitt's, or Mr. Hart's, or Mr. Spicer's, those are his creditors. Mr. Tyrwhitt and Mr. Hart and Mr. Spicer could not have robbed me of my name. Let them have done what they would with their bonds, I should still have at any rate been Scarborough of Tretton. My belief is that I need not blush for my mother. He has made it appear that I should do so. I can't forgive him because he gives me chairs and tables." That's what it means by the personal property. Mr. Scarborough is thinking that although Augustus Scarborough has to inherit Tretton Park, all the stuff that's movable, the books, the gems, the chairs, the tables, the paintings, can all be realized for money. It can all be given to Montjoy. "They will be worth £30,000, said Mr. Grey. "I can't forgive him." The cloud sat very black on Montjoy Scarborough's face as he said this, and the blacker it sat, the more Mr. Grey liked him. If something could be done to redeem from ruin a young man who so felt about his mother, who so felt that his mother, simply because she had been his mother, it would be a good thing to do. Augustus had entertained no such feelings. He had said to Mr. Grey, as he had also said to his brother, that he, quote, had not known the lady. When the facts as to the distribution of the property had been made known to him, he had cared nothing for the injury done by the story to his mother's name. The story was too true. Mr. Grey knew that it was true, but he could not on that account do other than feel an intense desire to confer some benefit on Montjoy Scarborough. He put his hand out affectionately and laid it on the other's knee. "Your father will not live long, Captain Scarborough." "I suppose not." "And he is at present anxious to make what reparation is in his power. What he can leave you will produce, let us say, 1,500 a year." Without a will from him, you will have to live on your brother's bounty. By heaven, no, said Montjoy, thinking of the pistol and the bullets. When he thought about a future in which he lives as sponging off his horrible brother, he thought, well, I'll just kill myself. I see nothing else. I see, but I cannot explain. Montjoy's not going to tell the family lawyer that he's going to put a gun in his mouth. Do you not think that the 1,500 a year would be better than nothing? With a wife, let us say, said Mr. Gray, beginning to introduce the one argument on which he believed so much must depend. With a wife? Yes, with a wife. With what wife? A wife may be very well, but a wife who must depend on who it is. Is there anyone that you mean? Not exactly any particular person, said the lawyer lamely. Pshaw! What do I want with a wife? Do you mean to say that my father has told you that he intends to clog his legacy with the burden of a wife? I would not accept it as such a burden unless I could choose the wife myself. To tell the truth, there is a girl. Your first cousin? Yes, my cousin. When I was well-to-do in the world, I was taught to believe that I could have her. If she will be mine, Mr. Gray, I will renounce gambling altogether. If my father can manage that, I will forgive him, or will endeavor to. The property which he can leave me shall be settled altogether upon her. I will endeavor to reform myself, and so to live that no misfortune shall come upon her. If that is what you mean, say so. Mighty bold claim from Montjoy. Of course, it would never happen. It would never happen. Well, not quite that. To no other marriage will I agree. That has been the dream of my life through all those moments of hot excitement and assured despair which I have endured. Her mother has always told me that it should be so, and she herself in former days did not deny it. Now you know it all. If my father wishes to see me married, Florence Montjoy must be my wife. Then he sank back on his seat, and nothing more was said until they reached Tretton Park. The father and son had not met each other since the day on which the former had told the latter the story of his birth. Since then, Montjoy had disappeared from the world, and for a few days his father had thought that he had been murdered. But now they met as they might have done had they seen each other a week ago. Well, Montjoy, how are you? Oh, and how are you, sir? Such were the greetings between them, and no others were spoken. And in a few minutes the son was allowed to go and look after the rural joys he had anticipated, and the lawyer was left closeted with the squire. Mr. Gray soon explained his proposition. Let the property be left to trustees, who would realize it from it what money it should fetch, and keep the money in their own hands, paying Montjoy the income. That is a very good arrangement. That's the one I mentioned last time. No wife is needed for that. Montjoy will sign up for it. He might not like the idea that he has to go to these trustees to get his monthly allowance, but he'd prefer it to his brother. No wife is needed here. A will could easily be done to make this happen. And £30,000, wisely invested, if Montjoy didn't have a gambling problem, he could live off that comfortably for the rest of his life. Might even marry someone else, of course. There could, he said, be nothing better done unless Montjoy would agree to marry. He is attached, it seems, to his cousin, said Mr. Gray, and he is unwilling at present to marry anyone else. He cannot marry her, said the squire. I don't know the circumstances, said Mr. Gray. He can't marry her. She's engaged to the young man who will be here just now. I told you, did I not, that Harry Annesley is coming here? My son knows that he will be here today. Everybody knows the story of Mr. Annesley and the captain, said Mr. Gray. They are to sit down to dinner together, and I trust they may not quarrel. The lady of whom you are speaking is engaged to young Annesley, and Montjoy's suit in that direction is hopeless. Hopeless, you think? Utterly hopeless. Your plan of providing him with a wife would be very good if it were feasible. I should be very glad to see him settled. But if he will marry no one but Florence Montjoy, he must remain unmarried. Augustus has had his hand in that business, and don't let us dabble in it. Then the squire gave the lawyer full instructions as to the will which was to be made. Mr. Gray and Mr. Bullfist were to be named as trustees, with instructions to sell everything which it would be in the squire's legal power to bequeath. The books, the gems, the furniture from both Tretton and in London, the plate, the stock, the farm produce, the pictures on the walls, and the wine in the cellars were all named. He endeavored to persuade Mr. Gray to consent to cutting of the timber, so that the value of it might be taken out of the pocket of the younger brother and put into that of the elder. But to this Mr. Gray would not assent. There would be an air of persecution about it, he said, and it mustn't be done. But to the general stripping of Tretton for the benefit of Montjoy, he gave cordial agreement. I am not quite sure that I have done with Augustus as yet, said the squire. I had made up my mind not to be put out by trifles, not to be vexed at a little. My treatment of my children has been such that though I have ever intended to do them good, I must have seemed at each at different periods to have injured him. I have not therefore expected much from them, but I have received less than nothing from Augustus. In the time since Mr. Scarborough has announced that Augustus is his heir, Augustus has made the, at the very least, very bad tactical mistake of showing Mr. Scarborough how eager Augustus is that he die, so let it all be done with. That's not the sort of thing you want to show to anyone, especially someone like Mr. Scarborough. But I have received less than nothing from Augustus. It is possible he may hear from me again. To this Mr. Grey said nothing, but he had taken instructions about the drawing of the will. Harry came down by the train in time for dinner. On the journey down he had been perplexed in his mind, thinking of various things. He did not quite understand why Mr. Scarborough had sent for him. His former intimacy had been with Augustus, and though there had been some cordiality of friendship shown by the old man to his son's companion, it had amounted to no more than might be expected from one who was notably good-natured. A great injury had been done to Harry, and he supposed that his visit must have some reference to that injury. He had been told in so many words that, come when he might, he would not find Augustus at Tretton. Augustus is not welcome in his father's house. From this and from other signs, he almost saw that there existed a quarrel between the squire and his son. Therefore, he felt that something was to be said as to the state of his affairs at Buston. But if, as the train drew near to Tretton, he was anxious as to his meeting with the squire, he was much more so as to the captain. The reader will remember all the circumstances under which the two had last seen each other. Harry had been furiously attacked by Mountjoy, and then had left him sprawling, dead, as some folks had said on the following day, under the rail. His only crime had been that he was drunk. If the disinherited one would give him his hand and let bygones be bygones, he would do the same. He felt no personal animosity, but there was a difficulty. As he was driven up to the door in a cab belonging to the squire, there was Mountjoy standing before the house. He, too, had thought of the difficulties, and had made up his mind that it would not do for him to meet his late foe without some few words intended for the making of peace. "I hope you are well, Mr. Annesley," he said, offering his hand as the other got out of the cab. "It may as well be that I should apologize at once for my conduct. I was at that moment considerably distressed, as you may have heard. I had been declared to be penniless, and to be nobody. The news had little unmanned me, and I was beside myself." I quite understand it, said Annesley, giving his hand. "I am very glad to see you back again, and in your father's house." Then Mountjoy turned on his heel, and went through the hall, leaving Harry to the care of the butler. The captain thought that he had done enough, and that the affair in the street might now be regarded as a dream. It was fairly good words. It was fairly good behavior on his part. An apology, straight out. Not waiting, not trying to avoid the subject. Shake your hand and apologize. Harry was taken up to shake hands with the old man, and in due time came down to dinner, where he met Mr. Grey and the young doctor. They were all very civil to him, and upon the whole he spent a pleasant evening. On the next day about noon the squire sent for him. He had been told at breakfast that it was the squire's intention to see him in the middle of the day, and he had been unable therefore to join Mountjoy's shooting party. Because, of course, when you're out in the country, you have to kill things that have never done you any harm. "Sit down, Mr. Annesley," said the old man. "You were surprised, no doubt, that you got my invitation." "Well, yes, perhaps so, but I thought it very kind." "I meant to be kind, but still it requires some explanation. You see, I am such an old cripple that I cannot give invitations like anybody else. Now you are here, and I must not eat or drink with you, and in order to say a few words to you, I am obliged to keep you in the house till the doctor tells me that I am strong enough to talk." "I'm glad to find you so much better than when last I was here." "I don't know much about that. There will never be much better in my case. The people about me talk with the utmost unconcern of whether I can live 1 month or possibly 2. Anything beyond that is quite out of the question." The squire took a pride in making the worst of his case, so that the people to whom he talked should marvel the more at his vitality, because he's been told 2 or 3 times that long. Still not a long time. He'll still never see another summer. But still, not a month. But he won't mind my health now. It is true, I fear, that you have quarrelled with your uncle." "I am quite true that he has quarrelled with me. I'm afraid that is more important. He means, if he can, to cut you out of the entail." "He does not mean that I shall have the property if he can prevent it." "I don't think very much of entails myself," said the squire. The understatement of the century. "If a man has a property, he should be able to leave it as he pleases, or else he doesn't have it." "That is what the law intends, I suppose," said Harry. "Just so. But the law is such an old woman that she never knows how to express herself to any purpose. I haven't allowed the law to bind me. I dare say you know the story. About your 2 sons and the property? I think all the world knows that story. I suppose it's been talked about a little, said the squire with a chuckle. My object has been to prevent the law from handing over my property to the fraudulent claims which my son's creditors were unable to make, and I have succeeded fairly well. On that head I have nothing to regret. Now your uncle is going to take other means. I might point out here, this is not the first time, Mr. Scarborough, when he is justifying himself, as he reflexively does, he always says that he doesn't care what other people think of him, but he always tries to justify his behavior, even when not provoked. And when he tries to justify his behavior, he almost always lies. There were no fraudulent claims on Montjoy from his creditors. Montjoy knew the rates of their interest. He can't claim that he was defrauded. He knew what he was getting into. So the father did not erase fraudulent claims on his son. He erased claims, yes, but anyway, let's move on. He likes to think of himself as a crusader against the world. And it shows when he's trying to justify himself. It makes you wonder if maybe he's not quite as at peace with his soul as you think, or as he says. Yes, this is Harry saying, yes, he's going to take means which are at any rate lawful, but which will be tedious and perhaps may not perhaps succeed. He's intending to have an heir of his own. That, I believe, is his purpose, said Harry. There is no reason why he shouldn't, but he mayn't, you know. He is not married yet. No, he is not married yet. And then he has also stopped the allowance which he used to make to you. Harry nodded. Now that is a great shame. I think so, said Harry. Of course he does. The poor gentleman has been awfully bamboozled. He's not so very old, said Harry. I don't think he's more than 50. But he is an old goose. You'll excuse me, I know. Augustus Scarborough got him up to London and filled him full of lies. I am aware of it. Harry knows exactly who has ruined him. So am I aware of it. He has told stories as to your conduct with Montjoy, which, added to some youthful indiscretion of your own, it was simply because I didn't like to hear him read sermons. That was an indiscretion, as he had the power in his hands to do you an injury. Most men have got some little bit of pet tyranny in their hearts. I have none. To this Harry could only bow. I let my two boys do as they pleased, only wishing that they should lead happy lives. I never made them listen to sermons or even to lectures. Probably I was wrong. Had I tyrannized over them, they would not have tyrannized over me as they have done. Now I'll tell you what it is that I propose to do. I will write to your uncle, or will get Mr. Merton to write to me, for me, and will explain to him, as well as I can, the depth, the blackness, the cruelty, the unfathomable heathen cruelty, together with the falsehoods, the premeditated lies, and the general rascality on all subjects of my son Augustus. I will explain to him that of all men I know, he is the least trustworthy. I will explain to him that, if led in matters of importance by Augustus Scarborough, he will surely be led astray. And I think that between us, between Merton and me, that is, we can concoct a letter that shall be efficacious. But I will get Montjoy also to go and see him, and explain to him out of his own mouth what in truth occurred that night between you and he when you fell out in the streets. Mr. Prosper must be a more vindictive man than I take him to be in regard to a sermon, if he will hold out after that. Then Mr. Scarborough allowed him to go out, and if possible find the shooters somewhere about the park. So it clears up the mystery. That is what Mr. Scarborough plans to do for Harry Annesley. Write a letter to Uncle Prosper explaining that Uncle Prosper has been lied to. And also send Montjoy, the man who was wronged in the street. Send all of this stuff to Uncle Prosper in an attempt to change his mind, to reinstate Harry. That's a big thing. That might work. And we don't get Harry's reaction. And first-time readers of this, keep in mind this was serialized when it first came out. So you were getting this chapter in a periodical, and if you were following the story, you were coming up with all sorts of ways to be eager for the next chapter. If you weren't, Trollope was not doing his job. And among the many, of course, by now, this story has kicked into high gear again, after a couple of digressions that were fun, but they weren't at the heart of this is at the heart of the story. And longtime readers of Trollope, and this was his last major novel, so all of his readers that knew him were longtime readers, they are now expecting something. That last bit, that last conversation between Mr. Scarborough and Harry Ainsley raises an expectation. We'll have to see if we're going to get it. That expectation, of course, Trollope was beloved by his readers for many reasons. He holds you in the palm of his hand when he's telling you a story. You feel that you are in the hand of someone who knows just what he's doing. That's one thing. Fox hunting scenes is another thing. Amazingly interesting female characters, which you take a look at Trollope, you wouldn't expect him to ever do. But that also is the thing that fans came to expect from him. Amazingly interesting female characters. Female characters who are iconoclastic without being just weird. They are plausibly iconoclastic. And another thing that Trollope was famous for with his readers is correspondence. Trollope letters are terrific. Usually they are terrific. And now the end of this chapter raises the expectation. Are we going to get that letter? It's great that Mr. Scarborough is going to send it to Uncle Prosper, but are we going to get to read it? Maybe not. Maybe it would be too long. But that's it for now. We are still down at Tretton Park. Everybody's down at Tretton Park. But we will be moving elsewhere next time because we now know that Captain Scarborough has a mission to undertake. So we'll wrap this up for now, and we'll be back next time. Thank you, BookTube.